wanted this channel to be built upon the idea of being in the middle, that is offering an alternative perspective than the one we usually hear in the media every day. Well, the problem with that is that nowadays you only get two options. You're either left or you're right, you're liberal or conservative, and if you don't choose one, then others will choose for you depending on what you say and how you act. Well, I'm not buying that, because doing the right thing or saying the right thing is not dependent on a political party. It's dependent on the value of the thing itself. There's something about labels that I always had an issue with. Though yeah, they can be helpful for identifying, if you start applying characteristics to it, that's when it can become dangerous. Because applying a label to something is forming a subconscious image of that, and then it's externalized into a behavior. But lately, these labels have created an issue within the political arena. We've divided the country in red and blue and left or right, and that now determines our political correctness. It's made us lose the ability to disagree without disrespecting the other side, and we call each other threats to democracy without realizing that the whole point of democracy is to be able to disagree and yet fight for what you believe in. But it's nothing more than a manipulation tactic to put us against each other, and we're playing by their own rules. Now, as individual people, we all want to belong to a group or a community, but the problem arises when we try to separate the individuality aspect of a person and the community aspect of society. So in a sense, the individuality aspect of the right wing is kind of ironic to me, because they're still categorizing themselves under the umbrella of conservatism. And on the left side, they're behaving too much in a collectivist way, which can be a problem because we naturally create hierarchy systems as human beings. Another issue I have with political parties is the division within themselves. So there's something in politics called the Overton window. Basically what it is that there are certain things in society that are deemed extreme or debatable. And each political party creates their own markers of what is considered extreme or radical. And it's a range of topics. Like, for example, the right wing has identified racial superiority as their marker for extremism. And I'm not saying that these people don't exist, but what I am saying is that they don't define the political party as a whole. The same can be said for the left side. Not all liberals believe that minor attractive relationships should be legalized. It does not characterize the party as a whole. But what I find interesting is that this window moves along with cultural shifts. So if a person is forced to consider a topic that they would be politically against or would simply disagree with, it suddenly makes it so that that topic isn't so extreme anymore. In a sense, it works like the foot in the door phenomenon. You ask for a small request in order to get compliance towards a bigger one. But going down this route can be a slippery slope. It can become dangerous. The issue here, though, is that at this point in time, the right has been able to identify these markers, but the left hasn't been able to. So there's a lot of division happening within themselves. So right now, a great example of this division that is happening is by the new thing that probably everybody's aware about, Elon Musk buying Twitter. So he bought it to create a public space for discussion for any point of view. But there are those who oppose it because they think that hate speech will not be under censorship and that a lot of misinformation and lies will be spread. But if that is the problem, then there's the opportunity to debate. There's the opportunity to see eye to eye, to have an open discussion and reach middle ground. That is how we will get to the truth, by talking to each other, not just by censoring one another and saying you don't have the right to speak because you're from this political party or from this other one. We need to be able to come together. But the problem is that we don't want to, because we always want the easy way out. We are just pointing fingers at each other, not seeing our own hypocrisy. We're being led by a form of arrogance, and it is just dividing us even more. But we have to stop ourselves and ask for a moment, what if the side I am against is actually doing the correct thing and I am the one doing the greater harm or the greater evil? That would allow us to be less close-minded, because we're both looking for the same thing. We're both fighting for justice, but we both believe that justice is being done in our own way. Like, for example, liberals will say that low-income white conservatives are voting against their economic self-interest, but that they don't know that because they're uneducated, they're ignorant, and they're dumb. But what they don't realize is that they have the exact same thing in their own party. The rich liberals are voting against their economic self-interest all the time by voting for tax increases and programs that they will never use. Like, hold on a second. We are doing the exact same thing. But one of them, no, that can't happen because they are putting their value over their money, so they must be more noble, they must be more virtuous. When in reality, put those who think the same way as us on a pedestal and demonize those who think differently. Think about it. We're all looking at the same mirror, but we're all arguing about what we see. We're looking at the same thing just from a different angle. So now, what can we do about this issue? Well, we need a foundation. America has at its heart the Constitution. We need to embrace diversity of cultures, races, and ideas in this country. So having people believe on one thing would be impossible, but that's the beauty of it. We need to celebrate the fact that we're all different, we think differently, and we can all come together under the bridge of we the people. So in other words, being patriotic. And I know being patriotic at this point has been said equivalent to being a Republican with a pickup truck and a bumper sticker saying, "I voted for Trump." But that's not what patriotism is. Patriotism is a sense of belonging and commitment to a country. It doesn't mean that we are above anybody else, because that would be nationalism. But what it does mean is that America belongs to all of us, and we need to strive to improve and maintain what it was built upon, and that is diversity. It's essentially saying that we have our people, we have our country, and when everything else fails, we have each other. That is a common ground we need to be able to progress together. America has endured periods of problem solving throughout its history without resorting to totalitarianism, and we could do it all over again. In the end, history repeats itself. For these reasons, I choose not to belong to any political party. And if you're on the same boat, know that you don't have to be part of a political party in order to fight for what you believe in. And even if you are, it doesn't mean that you have to follow everything word by word. You can have your own beliefs and fight for them in your own way. What's important is that you fight for the truth and you fight for what's best for the people.